Hello, number ones. Welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and today I would like to focus our attention to this recent controversy that occurred when it comes to the leak messages that were from a young Republican chat group that were made public. Let me share my takes on it. Boy, I'm gonna get hate for this. The news comes from the website called Politico, and it says, "The young Republicans' leaked chat is a sign of where we could be headed." And then the subtitle says, "Leaked chats from a young Republican group were shocking, offensive, and a sign where politics could be going." So we read, "On Tuesday, Politico published a series of racist and anti-Semitic messages from a group chat filled with young Republican leaders. They included references to putting their opponents in gas chambers and graping them. They called black people the violent people and keys." One message stated simply, and I'll have you read this on screen, I'm not going to say it. "As offensive as many of these messages were, the language and shock value humor in these has become commonplace in many of the online communities that young far-right people frequent." All right, so I already have a lot to say here. First and foremost, you can remove far right from here. For instance, you could easily add Call of Duty here if you have ever been on any of those. And at that point, it doesn't matter if it's left, right, up, and down. The kind of language you're going to hear and read. If you're a gamer, you know what I'm talking about. But in general, I want to start with this. So I've seen how several political commentators on the right have been reacting to this, and I do have a few points of disagreement, and I will present them here because I always try to be as fair as possible. However, in general, I agree with the stance that has been presented by the Vice President J.D. Vance. I say in general because there is something I wish he had done slightly differently, but in general, the position that he has stood on is pretty solid. So this is what he's saying. He is sharing a message, and then he's commenting on this, kind of making a joke, if you will. And he says, "A friend shared these truly disturbing messages from a young Republican group chat. The group leader genuinely calls for murdering the children of his political opponents." Then he goes, "Oh, wait, actually this is from Jay Jones, the Democrat running for Attorney General in Virginia." So what he's sharing here is another leaked message. This one is from a private conversation, but instead of having to do with racist or sort of dark humor language used by youngsters on the Republican side, this is an actual politician with real power. This is the run-in candidate for Attorney General in Virginia. So let's see what the message says and why this is connecting to the reaction to the chat room and the language used. The one in the blue is the interlocutor, and he says, "You weren't simply asking questions and you know it." And the Attorney General candidate says, "I genuinely was. I wasn't attacking you. I was trying to understand your logic." And then the other speaker says, "You weren't trying to understand. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die." And to this, Democrat candidate Jay Jones says, "Yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy." So this is 10 times worse than anything that was written on that chat. And so I do agree with J.D. Vance in wanting to present this as the more pressing matter. With that being said, I would have appreciated if on a line at the end, after having established this point, he still would have said that indeed the language used on that chat by these Republicans was awful, because it was awful. But the greater point that the vice president is trying to make here, and then we'll see how a lot of popular commentators on the right have been responding to this, but in general, the point that he was making was, yes, those chat messages are bad, but it's not as bad as what the left has been doing, both when it comes to people in power like this, and clearly when it comes to the general public reaction of all the tens of thousands of liberals and progressives that have been making videos celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk and asking for more political violence towards his family, and specifically his children, because they were going to grow into bigotry anyway, so they might as well die. That is, out of these two, the greater evil, and I agree on that. However, what is this point of disagreement that I have with some of the popular commentators on the right wing? The thing is that I do believe it's important, while having established this, which of the two is the greater evil, absolutely is the radical left. No questions about that. It is important, however, to underline that these messages from this young Republican group, the words that were written there should be condemned. It was awful to read. And most important, and this is the first major point that I'm going to make here today, I've got a few, is that we shouldn't excuse them. I've seen a couple of commentators do this, and we shouldn't excuse them just because they are young. Oh, they're young and they're just being edgy. Well, hold on a minute. I myself, first and foremost, have been holding accountable each and every single TikTok user, YouTube content creator, Reels on Instagram, on the left that have been celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk and been calling for more violence. A lot of those were young, but we didn't use it as an excuse. We didn't say, well, they are young. No. We said each and every single one, those that call for direct threats, calls to action, and political violence should be imprisoned and should have legal consequences. And those that were simply laughing and celebrating, it's their freedom of speech. They can do it as long as they don't call for violence. It's not illegal. So that's why I was disagreeing with Republican Pam Bondi, who was like, oh, we're going to come and pick each and every single one of you. And I'm like, no, you don't do that. However, those that lost their jobs because their employers didn't want to have anything to do with that scum, I agree, they should have lost their jobs, and I'm glad about it. But because we used this line of offense, we cannot now apply a different measure to these youngsters that are also using bad language, racist jokes, gas chamber references against their political opponents and just say, oh, these are young. No, we should apply the same method and the same rule. Because if one of the things that we often complain about the radical left is they constantly push this rules for thee, not for me. And we shouldn't do the same. Whether you be a centrist or whether you be a right-winger, we should not give up the high moral ground on this. If there are people in this young Republican chat that ask for direct threats or calls to violence against specifically identified individuals, like the case for the children of Charlie Kirk, there should be legal repercussions. And for those other people that used racist language, then no, the law shouldn't intervene because it's not illegal. But if, say, one of these kids that makes all of these racist jokes about black people, for instance, if they work at a freaking GameStop and their employer is like, you know what, I don't want to deal with you, you're fired, I'm okay with that. We have to apply the same logics. Now, I do want to underline, however, that the language used by these kids on the Republican chat and the language used by the kids on the liberal side that were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, they are different. While both may appear to be similar in the sense that we are talking about political radicalizations, the level of radicalization is different. And the way I'm going to justify this is the following. Logically, when you say edgy stuff and you use language that is inappropriate, but you do it in a private chat room that then gets leaked, that's one thing. But when you publicly and shamelessly use celebration of murder, horrific language, and you do it when you know that everyone can see your face, then your level of political radicalization is a lot higher. Because differently from the others of this Republican chat that were clearly afraid of saying this on public, they were possibly ashamed of saying it publicly, the liberals weren't. They were saying it publicly, and when they got consequences, they doubled down and they said, I would do it 100 times more because bigots deserve it. And so this is proof. Why? Well, simply because the layer of anonymity that online interactions and the internet provides is always conducive to bad behavior and horrific language. We know this, but when people do this kind of stuff publicly in front of a camera with their face and sometimes full name, it means that they're fully radicalized, which is why I once again say, while both things should be condemned, let's not pretend that this is both sides. One side, the progressive side, the left-wing extremist side, is the one that is the greater evil in this dichotomy. Call me a fascist all you want for that take. At least I'm being fair. And that's another thing that I want to say about the right wing, is that I've seen people that now say publicly, oh yeah, they use the N-word whenever they want and they are like proud of it. And I disagree with that take. Or that when they know that in this chat maybe they used the N-word, I'm not sure if they did, but if they did, I've seen people saying, oh yeah, that's based. It's not based. So just because, let me make this one clear. Just because the left has gone absolutely insane when it comes to calling everyone a racist, when it comes to, oh, if you dare to say this magical word, your entire life should be over, and if they could, they will put you in front of a firing squad. Just because they went insane, it doesn't mean that we also have to go insane on the other side and now pretend that the N-word is based and cool. It's not. I've never used it in my life. I will never use it in my life. But what my position is that all racial slurs should be frowned upon equally. All of them. If someone is racist to black people or to white people or to Asians or to brown people, whatever you want, if they use racial slurs, I would not put them in prison. I would not pass hate speech laws over my dead body. However, I would frown upon all of these. We don't have to become indecent just because the other side has gone completely nuts. And once again, when I say the other side, I am always specific and fair. I mean the radicals and the extremists on the other side. As I often say, I know that there will be people in the comments, and just read the comments. You will find people that will say, yeah, I'm right-wing, I love you. But you'll also find people that say, hey, I'm left-leaning politically or socially or economically. I'm left-wing, but I hate where the progressives are gone. I hate what the radical extremists are doing, and I disagree with how they want to push for nonsense laws and hate speech and the celebration of Charlie Kirk's murder. You'll find them in the comments. I have proof in my comments. So clearly I don't have a problem with people who are decent, and we can just sit down and disagree with a coffee over policy, over economic policy, over whatever it is, religion. It doesn't matter at that point. But the radicals, they're nuts. But just because they're nuts, we should not, as a strategic position, you should never give up the high moral ground, specifically in an issue like this one, because in the long run, it will be tactically advantageous to maintain the high moral ground in front of insanity. Now, given this, when it comes to objectively stuff like language used, again, I will always frown upon racist language. I disagree with it. I don't use it, and I will condemn it. However, don't for a second think that I'm going to go easy on the people that ask for like the murder of children and then Christian children, or once again, the kids of Charlie Kirk. No, with them, I don't go like nice, all nice and no, let's be all friends. Absolutely not. Full force of the law, each and every single one of them. But because that's one of those positions where we can't play nice. But not all positions should be completely extreme and 100% contrarian. In this case, it is not advantageous tactically to start using racial language on purpose just to prove that we are free to do it. You should be free to do it, but I can still frown upon it, and I can still choose at a personal level not to engage with it. Not to engage with it. And as I say, returning to Vice President here, I am very concerned with this. Yes, because there were not full-on senators. Maybe there was one senator in that group chat, and that's another thing that I've seen several left-wing creators saying, oh, he should have said something, he knew about this. And I'm like, have you ever even opened that group chat? Have you ever even opened the group chat? Like literally, I've been like in 3 in my life because I don't like them. I basically silence them. And then what you do is that you are there just to be polite. But then after like a week or two, I check and I see 751 messages unread. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it because I don't read. I have so many. If I have, I don't have time, but even if I did, I'm going to watch a movie. I'm going to spend some time with the wife. I'm going to paint my Warhammer miniatures. There are a million things that I'm going to do that are more interesting for me than just reading these freaking chat rooms. I'm not interested. So it's possible that even though this senator, whoever it was, Republican senator, was in the group, that doesn't mean that he read all 10,000 messages that probably appeared. And so that he was like, oh no, I read all of them and I saw the racist jokes and he was on to it. Now he probably just didn't even read it. So unless you see him writing something or responding or hearting some of these comments, you cannot in any way, shape or form consider him to be involved in this. Is stupid. It's just something that someone would say was never even been into a group chat in their life. However, this is much more of a problem from the Attorney General in Virginia. But luckily, it looks like the leaking of this message completely destroyed his running for Attorney General, and he's just not going to make it now. Because, yeah, he went like, the approval rates went down to like freaking 35, I think I saw. So like, it's gone. And it was really high. It was on the 80%, I think, before this controversy, which, of course, once again, guys, how strange, is it really that strange? And is it really such a far-right take to say, wanting children to be dead is much worse than saying mean things and using nasty words? Is it really that weird of a take? I don't know. Particularly when uttered by a person with real power who can pass policy. Well, you tell me. Anyways, this is all I have to say about this. Whether you agree or not, let me know in the comments. Thank you very much. Ciao, ciao. If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support helps me and my team of academics keep the channel strong and gives us the means to fight back against the political rewriting of history. Stand with us, form the wall, defend the truth. proudly presenting the pendant of the Noble One. Look at this beauty. Original custom design created by me in collaboration with Viking Jewelry. And it's my way to celebrate all of you, because as you know, I've been calling you Noble Ones for the last 12 years. Well, this is indeed the pendant of you, the Noble Ones, who are the Custos Veritatis, written here in Latin, and it means keeper of truth, because that's the only thing that matters. The truth, whether it offends them or not. So, available in both silver and bronze. I think my favorite is the bronze one, but they're both great. And this can be bought as a set, as we offer the original ring of the Noble One, available in silver, bronze, and gold, the bracelet of the Noble One, Silent Oath of Truth, and a more low-profile version of the ring for those who prefer something a little thinner, which we offer also in bronze, silver, 14-karat gold, and 18-karat gold. Use the code NOBLE1 for a 15% discount at checkout, and massive thanks to each and every single one of you, and thank you to my haters for supporting my work.